Ambition and Avarice 2nd Edition is a role-playing game available for purchase in PDF or hardback on drivethrurpg.com. Check the notes for a link to purchase. In this video, I'm going to walk through character generation for a magic user. This character is going to lead the party out into a wilderness hex crawl in my next video, so like, subscribe, and stay tuned for that in the near future. Ability scores are the heart of your character. They represent your basic aptitude for taking different kinds of actions. If you've played a role-playing game before, particularly Dungeons & Dragons, this list will be very familiar to you. The classic way of rolling ability scores uses 3 6-sided dice rolling once per ability. This will give you a mix of results. This character has 1 great score, a good score, 3 average scores, and a weak score. Unless you're exceptionally lucky, you will not be a superhero type character that you may be used to playing from other versions of D&D or their equivalent. You will be a normal person, above average in some ways, below average in other ways. Each ability score also corresponds to a die modifier. When you roll dice to attempt an action covered under that ability, this modifier is added to the result. Now in this particular case, we know in advance that we're going to choose human for our race, so we can add a +2 bonus to an ability score of our choice. I'm going to choose the 15. This will push it up to 17 and result in a +3 die modifier. Wherever we assign that 17, this character will be exceptional. I've decided that this is going to be Ezrani the Conjurer. He's going to be my party leader, and with a 17, he has a potential to be a very powerful magic user as well. There are 2 types of magic users in Ambition and Avarice, prepared and spontaneous. Spontaneous casters can choose the spell they're casting on the spot using wisdom as their primary ability score, and prepared casters must memorize spells at the beginning of the day using intelligence as their primary ability score. Conjurers are prepared spellcasters, so we're going to put a 17 in intelligence. Conjurers also use a charisma-based skill called dominance to control their summoned creatures, so we're going to put our 13 in charisma. Now I faced a dilemma on where to put the 7. If we put it in dexterity, it would be easier to hit us in combat. If I put it in constitution, we'd lose hit points. If I put it in wisdom, we would not be an effective leader. By putting the 7 in strength, we can't wear armor or swing a sword very well, but we weren't really planning on doing that anyway. And now there's no bonus to be had. If we put the 12 in constitution, we can use our first bonus to ability scores to get a +1 die modifier on constitution as well. The last 2 scores are pretty interchangeable, so I assigned them as I did. Because of his low strength, Ezrani is weak at melee combat, breaking down doors, and so on. He also lacks the strength requirement to even wear light armor effectively. He's going to be restricted to clothing and robes, which was our intent all along. Now if we look at the speed chart, we can see that Ezrani moves at an average pace. In combat, he can move 30 feet per round. At a cautious speed, such as when inching forward in a dungeon looking for traps, he can move up to 120 feet per turn, and when traveling overland, he can cover 24 miles per day. These are average speeds. If we look at the encumbrance chart, we can see that Ezrani is once again average. He can carry 60 pounds before he starts to negatively be impacted, and the most he can carry without injuring himself is 120 pounds. At first level, we also need to roll 1d6 for hit points, and 4 is pretty good. We should be thankful to the dice gods. Ezrani's powerful intelligence gives him bonuses in languages. With a 17, he is fluent and literate in Common, his native racial language, along with 3 additional languages. And being a human also gives him a fluency but not literacy in an additional language. There are a lot of choices. Common is required, so let's lock that in at first. And since conjurers often deal with summoned creatures and undead, let's take Abyssal next. We're going to be traveling through a lot of old ruins and across deep frontier, so Elven and Dwarven are pretty good solid choices to round us out. Now that leads us with our last choice, where we only have fluency. You want to choose something that can be useful, but where people don't really write it down a lot. Let's go with Giant. Wisdom and charisma are used a lot in dice rolls, but they don't necessarily generate secondary information for your starting character like the others do. So this is our list of starting abilities, and now we need to choose our alignment. In Ambition and Avarice, we use the classic alignment choice of law versus chaos. Matters of good and evil are left to individuals, but the universe itself is aligned upon the law-chaos axis. Law is certainty and devotion to some cause, any cause. It could be good or evil depending on where you're standing. There are numerous lawful deities out there working every day to bring some vision of theirs into reality, and mortals line up to support them. Alternatively, chaos is focusing on your own desires and needs. Where one god wants to build a castle, another wants to wear it down with erosion. That is the way of the world. Neutrality falls in the middle, as most people have very few lawful ideas that they're willing to sacrifice for, but otherwise they act in their own self-interest. We're going to have Ezrani fall in the neutral camp, as he does have strong feelings about how things should be organized in some ways, and he's very self-interested in other ways. However, he doesn't draw his magical power from a deity, so he doesn't have to choose their alignment to match his. We've already chose human as a racial choice for Ezrani. It gave us a bonus language and an ability score bump. These are the options that were available. Ezrani is a conjurer, one of 12 possible class choices. It's a magic user whose expertise involves creating binding circles and has access to a variety of summoning spells. Powerful monsters can be summoned and trapped within the circle, and the conjurer can then bargain or negotiate with them to gain their loyalty. If successful, this grants a powerful ally that will fight in combat as if it was a member of your party, but just be aware it can go very, very poorly. The conjurer can also gain a +2 bonus to identify magical symbols, runes, and glyphs. They're proficient with 3 types of weapons: clubs, daggers, and quarterstaves. Probably the weakest weapons available, so stay out of combat. They also can't wear armor without risking spell failure. So I think you can see why I assigned that 7 to our strength ability score. Conjurers also get a +2 bonus to the dominance skill, the skill that's used to control the summoned creature in the binding circle. In each level, you can choose to give up a spell slot in order to keep increasing that skill so that you can have the ability to dominate even powerful monsters such as a demon or a devil. A conjurer begins play with 5 spells written in their spellbook, taken from this list of 27. Every spell belongs to 2 of 6 magical schools, so your spell list is pretty unique compared to what's available to the other character classes. Make sure you consider your choices wisely. You can memorize 2 spells per day plus their intelligence modifier, so since we put 17 there, it gives us the ability to memorize and cast 5 spells per day from this list. That could be 1 of each or 1 5 times. But how should we pick the spells that we're going to choose? There's a short spell list description available in the front of the Magic chapter for quick reference, or you can read each spell completely. These are the spells available to a conjurer. Now, some of these have familiar names. They're often written in new and exciting ways. For instance, the classic Fireball spell, you can actually hold in your hand like a basketball until you're ready to throw it, unlike in classic D&D. Considering his role as the leader of a party headed out into a dangerous wilderness, these are my picks for Ezrani's starting spell choices. Beam of Light doubles as a physical defense spell and a light spell, and since no character race has dark vision, this is an important consideration. Hummingbird is a useful defense against other spellcasters, but can be used in a number of other clever ways to cause mischief. Read Magic is essential to copying spells into his spellbook, so Ezrani has to take this almost as a matter of course, so that any magical scrolls he finds he can convert into long-term magical knowledge. Summon Elemental will help in a tough fight, and Summon Mount will save his life if he's separated from the party or finds himself lost in a dangerous land. Note that each spell has a catalyst. Having this item in your hand while casting will boost the spell's effect in some way, sometimes spectacularly. Every character class in Ambition and Avarice has a follower type. These are creatures or people who follow you out of obligation, self-interest, or admiration. You don't have to pay them a salary like you would with another retainer. For conjurers, their follower is a puck, a small imp-like creature that you can give commands and send on independent journeys. You can also focus your mind and possess the puck, even across great distance, and take direct control of it as if it was your own flesh and blood. As you grow in level, you'll be able to control a larger number of pucks. At first level, you only have one. Name it and put it on your character sheet using these statistics. The drawback of a puck is that it deals 1d4 damage to you when it dies. Damage that can't be magically healed, so you better protect your pucks. Every character gets to roll 5d6 times 10 for starting gold pieces. Some character classes get a bonus cash allowance on top of that, but conjurers don't, so we're going to have to stick to our original 170. There's a lot of choices out there for weapons, armor, transportation, which may prove critical in our hex crawl situation. However, one of the areas that Ambition and Avarice truly shines is in the general equipment list. It is expansive, and each piece of equipment offers real benefits, unlike in most comparable games. For example, sleeping on a bedroll offers an extra hit point of recovery, and leather gloves will give you a +1 charisma bonus when interacting with the nobility. There are also a dozen poisons, such as the muskhorn powder, which can be blown like an aerosol and deals 1d6 points of damage plus an extra point of permanent charisma loss. However, in my case, I'm going to save time by purchasing one of 8 pre-packed backpacks, the Spellcaster. It has everything I need to get going, including a decorative robe and a spellbook for a pre-calculated 94 gold pieces and 10 pounds of weight. If I spend another gold piece on a dagger, that brings me to 95 total spend and 75 gold pieces still in my belt pouch to use once I get to the frontier. If I have time to go shopping, I might also put some of that money into specific choices, such as some of the catalysts to boost my spells. However, the beauty of pre-packed backpack is that I can actually jump right into the game if I don't want to spend time buying equipment. With our critical choices made, Ezrani the Conjurer is ready to get out there and start adventuring. Here's the character represented on our fillable character sheet. Now get out there and make your own characters, folks. Let me know if you have any questions in the chat.